All right, we are on industrialism number 10, and we're continuing with some vocab here. This word here is merger. It is when one corporation buys out the stock of another. This can and does result in monopolies. The government today doesn't necessarily allow this because they don't allow monopolies. So here is an article about the good, the bad, and the ugly of some of the top mergers that we have seen. So if you look here, the good, Disney and Pixar, I mean, who doesn't love some Buzz Lightyear and Lightning McQueen? Sirius and XM Radio. I lived in a time when we had both options, Sirius and XM. You could get either one of those satellite companies, satellite radio companies, and now it's just called Sirius XM. Exxon and Mobil used to be two competing companies. Now it's ExxonMobil. Here's some bad ones. Yahoo and Facebook almost, but it didn't quite. And then some bad ones. And this Quaker and Snapple one is pretty good here if we read through. In 1994, grocery store legend Quaker Oats acquired the new kid on the block Snapple for $1.7 billion. All right, we're going to go down here to this right here. It says, Quaker didn't seem to grasp the Snapple identity, and after just 27 months, that's 2 years and 3 months, kids, they sold Snapple for $300 million. If we look back here, they bought them for $1.7 billion and then sold them for $300 million. That means they lost $1.6 million each day they owned Snapple. So not all mergers are successful, and in that case it wasn't successful at all. And then we get to monopolies, and monopolies, you guys have played the game before. What it is it is a situation in which only one seller controls the production, supply, and pricing of a product for which there are no close substitutes. It should be very difficult for you to come up with a monopoly today because the government does a good job of not allowing those to exist. But we have had many of them in the past. Monsanto, if those of you that are with Mr. Nick, that is a seed-producing organization. They grow crops and stuff, and they kind of have a monopoly on food. There's some documentaries out there on them as well. U.S. Steel was a monopoly. Standard Oil was a monopoly. At one point, John D. Rockefeller owned 97% of all the oil that was being refined in America. U.S. Steel, that was Carnegie's baby after he sold it. I believe he sold it to J.P. Morgan as well. So J.P. Morgan was one guy I don't think we got to in the Men Who Built America series, but he's a banker. Banking is going to be one of the big business things that's going to come about, and he creates the Edison General Electric and Thomas Houston Electric Company by creating General Electric. He merges those two companies and he creates GE. He also helped to create U.S. Steel and International Harvester, which is still around today. AT&T as well. J.P. Morgan and Carnegie. These two together, basically what happens is Carnegie's going to sell out his steel company, and then that's going to make Carnegie one of the richest people in the world ever. All right. So Morgan's going to buy him out, and then he's going to buy out other companies and then merge them together. This here is an example of vertical integration by what Morgan does to make a bunch of money. All right. That creates the U.S. Steel Corporation. Rockefeller, this here was just Carnegie's view of millionaires, and kind of opposite of what Bernie Sanders might think is that, they need to not have as much as what they do have. Carnegie would argue a little bit different. A trust, very similar to a monopoly. It's a group of competing companies who merge to create a profit. So it's very similar as a monopoly, but a monopoly is one business where a trust is multiple businesses acting as one business. So they're similar, but a little bit different. A trust is then run by a group of trustees. They run the companies as one large corporation, and then they pay dividends on profits earned by the trust. Dividends are the money at the end of the year that you make that's above all of your expenditures and those types of things. These were illegal, and Rockefeller used a trust to gain total control of the oil industry. These became illegal, like I said in a few videos ago, in 1890 by the Sherman Antitrust Act. Continuing on the next video.